The opulent private dining room fell silent as the waitress knelt on the carpet, eye to eye with the 8-year-old billionaire's son. Her hands moved in a short, unfamiliar phrase, a sequence that made the nearby relatives freeze mid-bite.
Please, let this reach him.
The boy's fingers, limp for years, suddenly twitched and shaped an answer. A genuine sign, not a reflex. A smile broke through Lucas's blank face, the first anyone had seen since his mother's funeral 3 years ago.
He signed. He actually signed.
But none of this made sense without rewinding to the start of that painful evening. Earlier that night, the Al Maktoum family had gathered for what was meant to be a celebratory dinner. The relatives murmured behind linen napkins, their pity barely disguised. Adel leaned close, signing desperate pleas, but Lucas's hands stayed limp in his lap, as if carved from stone. Adel's shoulders sagged. The last signing tutor had given up, her words a verdict. He has chosen silence.
3 years of specialists. Yet my son remains locked behind a wall no privilege can breach.
Behind him, a relative hissed under their breath, "What a waste. The boy isn't even trying."
My son is not broken. He just can't. The words stayed trapped. A scream swallowed whole.
Lucas's fingers twitched against the white tablecloth, then lay still again, his dark eyes reflecting the chandelier's cold light. A waitress in a burgundy apron set down a silver tray of desserts, her movements careful, as if the wrong sound might shatter the room.
That boy's hands. He's not ignoring them. He's watching something the rest of them can't see.
Outside the restaurant, luxury cars glided past under the streetlights, their passengers oblivious to the quiet devastation unfolding within.
Even the staff steal glances. We have become a private tragedy on public display.
In the crushing silence, Adel let his own hands fall into his lap, mirroring his son's resignation. He had nothing left to sign. Maria Costa noticed what the billionaires and tutors had missed. The boy was not staring into space. He was studying her hands.
Every time I move to plate a dessert, his eyes follow my fingers, not the food. He's reading motion like a language.
She knew that hunger. Years ago, in a cramped apartment, she had taught her own deaf brother to sign, giving him a voice when the world offered none.
I made a promise then. I will be your bridge to a world that refuses to listen.
Now, in this room of diamonds and disdain, her brother's silence called out from another child's eyes.
If I sign to him, his father might throw me out, or worse. But if I stay silent, what hope is left for this boy?
Her manager signaled her to clear the table, but Maria lingered, her heart hammering against her ribs.
I need to handle a special request for the young gentleman.
The manager frowned but stepped aside, and Maria walked toward the table, as if treading on glass. The same chandelier that had witnessed 1,000 business deals now watched a waitress prepare to break a 3-year silence. Maria lowered herself until her eyes met Lucas's, a gesture none of the expensive tutors had ever thought to try. Her hands began to shape a joke. The gold leaf dessert was so fancy, even the spoons were afraid to touch it. She finished with a playful flick, her fingers telling him it needed its own police escort just to leave the plate. The entire table froze, relatives midway through eyebrow raises, Adel's knuckles white on the table edge.
What is this woman thinking? The last tutor, who tried too hard, left Lucas shaking for an hour.
Lucas's dark eyes widened, not with fear, but with the foreign electricity of recognition. Adel half rose from his chair, his protest dying in his throat as he took in his son's expression.
He sees me. Not the uniform, not the stranger. He recognizes the shape of his mother's hands.
Lucas's fingers twitched on the white linen, stirring like a pianist recalling a melody after a long silence. And then, before anyone could exhale, before Adel could believe it, the boy began to sign back. Lucas's small hands answered Maria's joke with a quick, clumsy retort, telling her the spoons should call a food critic, not the police. Then, for the first time since his mother's funeral, a giggle escaped Lucas's lips, a sound so unexpected it seemed to rearrange the very oxygen in the room.
He laughed. My son laughed. How did you do that? Please, I need to know.
The relatives erupted into confused whispers, some dabbing tears, others clutching their pearls, but all staring at the waitress as if she had performed a miracle.
If I tell them the truth, they'll think I am just a waitress with a lucky hunch, but it's so much more than that. My younger brother is deaf, Mr. Al Maktoum. I taught him to sign when the doctor said he'd never communicate. I saw the same hunger in your son.
Adal's hand went to his heart, his composure crumbling as the simplest gesture in the world suddenly felt like the answer to years of prayers. In the midst of the chaos, Lucas touched the waitress's sleeve and signed a single, unmistakable word: Mama.
That sign, it's not standard. It's from a tiny school in Al Ain. I taught it to someone years ago. But who?
Maria forced a smile, but a cold thread of doubt coiled in her chest. The boy had given her more than a sign. He had handed her a question she didn't yet know how to answer. Maria returned to her cramped apartment that night, but the glitter of the chandelier had followed her home, refracted now into a sharp, unshakable question.
The way Lucas signed Mama, it wasn't from generic lessons. It was from the Hope Center, the exact curriculum I helped develop.
She grabbed her laptop and called her brother, a young man who knew the intricate dialects of Emirati Sign Language better than most linguists.
Pedro, I need you to see this sign. A boy used it tonight for Mother, but it's the variant we taught only at the Al Ain outreach.
On screen, her brother's hands responded instantly, his expression clouding with recognition. It was the signature sign of their old pilot program, barely used outside that single school.
I taught that sign to only a handful of parents. If Lucas uses it, he learned it from his mother. But that would mean...
She ended the call and pulled an old shoebox from under her bed, the Hope Center badge still pinned to a faded apron. She traced the embroidered logo, memories of a kind woman, in a blue abaya flooding back. A woman who had laughed as she struggled with the sign for love.
Her name was Layla. She told me about a little boy who was born deaf. Just like my brother, I gave her his first sign.
The badge felt like a chain now, linking two worlds that were never supposed to touch, and Maria knew she could not leave it buried. Maria opened her laptop, the screen's blue glow sharpening her features as she typed the name of the deaf center that had shaped so much of her youth. She scrolled through archived albums until a group photograph from the Al Ain Outreach Workshop filled the screen. Volunteers and parents huddled together under a painted banner. She zoomed in, and there it was, the exact hand shape Lucas had used, frozen mid-sign on the fingers of a woman in a blue abaya.
I remember that day. She struggled with the thumb placement, and I told her, your son will feel it even if your hands shake.
The memory sharpened. A warm laugh, the scent of cardamom tea, the woman confiding that her little boy had just turned 6 and still hadn't seen a single sign that meant mother.
She never said her son's full name, just that he was deaf, and she was desperate. Could that boy really be Lucas?
She opened a search engine and typed Layla deaf son Al Ain, but the results were a blur of irrelevance, nothing that handed her the final piece.
There's only one way to find out. I need to see if the family's reservation lists a mother's name or an old photo.
She imagined a golden locket she had glimpsed on Adal's desk earlier, a tiny portrait that might hold the face she was seeking. Maria closed the laptop, her reflection in the dark screen, a waitress who had served a joke and uncovered a secret that refused to stay buried. The next morning, Maria sat at her tiny kitchen table and typed a new search: Adal Al Maktoum, wife Layla. The first result was a memorial article from 3 years ago, headlined, Philanthropist Layla Al Maktoum dies at 39. She clicked, and there she was, Layla in the blue abaya, the same smile from the Hope Center, frozen in newsprint.
It's really her. The woman whose hands I guided into the sign for Mama, Lucas's mother.
Lucas's sign for Mama was the exact gesture Maria had taught Layla, a private language now echoing across years.
I taught his mother the words he just used to break 3 years of silence. How can that be coincidence?
The connection felt like a thread woven years before she ever entered that restaurant, an invisible inheritance.
If I tell Adal, he'll think I am after his money, but silence means burying the truth his son desperately needs.
She stared at Layla's photo, a woman who had unknowingly passed Maria's gift to a boy, now speaking with his hands. Maria closed the laptop, but her hands trembled, and the silence of her apartment felt like a door she could no longer lock. Maria tried to sleep, but the secret pressed against her ribs like a second heartbeat, refusing to fade.
If I tell him, he'll see a stranger, a waitress trying to profit from his grief. He'll call security before I finish the sentence.
Desperate for release, she pulled a pen and paper, the scratch of the nib filling the silence. She began to explain the Hope Center, the blue abaya, the sign from Mama, but her hands stopped before she could ask for a response.
I can already see his face, the disappointment, the accusation. He'll think I am just another person chasing his fortune.
With a ragged exhale, she tore the letter in two, then four, then let the fragments flutter into the wastebasket.
But silence is a lie too. If I do nothing, Lucas loses the one bridge he just found. My brother would say courage isn't the absence of fear. It's holding the secret until the right moment, then letting it cut you free.
She tucked the torn scraps into her old diary, alongside the pressed flower from the day she first taught that sign. And so the secret stayed buried, a splinter beneath her skin, waiting for a wound that would force it out. 3 weeks after the dinner, Maria was polishing silverware when a name slipped from the manager's office. Al Maktoum, her hands stilled. Adil's assistant was booking the restaurant's catering service for a charity gala next month, a direct path back into the lion's den.
If I work that gala, I can find a moment. Just 1 minute to show him the photo. No letter, no risk of it being intercepted.
Later that shift, she approached the manager with a carefully neutral request. Please assign her to the Al Maktoum Gala. The manager narrowed his eyes, recalling the strange break in protocol during that private dinner. But Maria's record was perfect, and he needed reliable staff. He agreed, but his tone carried a warning. She would be serving, not wandering, and any unusual behavior would be her last at the restaurant.
I only need 5 seconds. Adil's security won't see me as a threat until it's too late.
On the night of the gala, Maria stepped out of a staff van and stared up at the glittering museum facade, her simple uniform out of place among the tuxedos.
This is my only window. If I miss him tonight, the secret goes to the grave with Layla.
Inside, she threaded through the crowd with a tray of champagne, scanning the sea of faces for the only one that mattered. Across the ballroom, Adil stood encircled by donors, his white thobe a lone island in a sea of black tuxedos.
His security scans every hand that comes near him. I have 3 seconds before they block me.
She scribbled 6 words on a cocktail napkin. I knew Layla. The sign. Please. She glided toward him, offering champagne with one hand while the folded napkin disappeared under a flute. Adil took the glass, his fingers brushing the napkin. When he unfolded it, the blood drained from his face.
How does a waitress know that sign? Unless...
If he calls security now, I lose everything. But if he reads it, maybe he sees his wife's ghost in my hands.
Adil folded the napkin and gestured for Maria to follow, a silent command that parted his security detail. She walked behind him, her heart a war drum, past the suspicious glances of donors who only saw a servant overstepping. In a quiet corner beside a marble column, Adil turned, his grip tight on the napkin. The only thing between them now was the truth.
This is the moment. Either he believes me, or I lose the only chance Lucas has.
From her apron, Maria pulled a worn photograph, a younger version of herself, beside a woman in a blue abaya, both hands shaping the same sign.
Your wife, Layla. I taught her that sign 6 years ago at the Hope Center for Deaf Children in Al Ain.
Adil took the photograph, as if it were made of glass. His thumb traced Layla's smile, and the years fell away.
This is the school she visited, right before she got sick. She came home that day and signed love for the first time.
She was the kindest student I ever had. She told me about a little boy, her son, who was deaf and had never seen Mama in sign.
Adil's composure shattered. The waitress who had broken his son's silence had also been the last person to touch his wife's hope.
How did you find me? After all these years, how?
The night I served your dinner, I saw your son's hands. I recognized my own teaching in his signs, a language I thought died with your wife.
The sounds of the gala faded into static. Adil sank against the marble column, clutching the photograph as if it could resurrect the wife who had found her voice too late. Maria waited, her hands still, until Adel's breathing steadied and he looked up at her with eyes stripped of every defense.
She doesn't want money. She wants to give Lucas back his mother's voice. And she's the only one who can. Layla used to cry at night because she couldn't tell our son she loved him. You gave her the difference.
She was so determined. I remember she told me, I want my son to see my hands and know I am his mother before I am anyone else.
On the balcony overlooking the city lights, Adel's composure broke again, but this time it was laced with a fragile gratitude.
Miss Costa, I have no right to ask, but would you consider visiting him? Just once to see if he'll speak again.
Just once. That's all he asks. But if I go, I know it won't be just once. It will be every day until Lucas doesn't need me. I'll come, not because you are powerful, but because that boy deserves every sign his mother wanted him to have.
He handed her a card from his jacket, not his business line, but the private number that only family used. When Maria walked back into the gala, no one noticed the waitress clutching a secret that would reshape a billionaire's world. 2 days later, in the Al Maktoum mansion, Lucas pressed his face to the window as a familiar silhouette emerged from the car. He didn't wait for the housekeeper. He tore down the marble stairs, his small Kandura billowing behind him. The moment the door opened, Lucas raced toward Maria, his hands already forming signs. You came, you really came.
I promised your mama I'd be here.
She led him to the garden, where they sat on a wooden bench and fell into a game only their hands understood. Adel watched from the patio, hand over mouth. His son laughed, a belly laugh of a child who had found his voice. Even the tutor who had declared Lucas unreachable stood frozen near the roses, her notebook forgotten, eyes wet.
He's so much like my brother. Same hunger, same light. I can't abandon him now.
She's the missing piece I've been paying a fortune to find. I can't let her walk away.
As the sun dipped, Maria slipped a note into Lucas's palm, a promise, and Adel knew he would offer her the world to stay. Later that evening, in Adel's penthouse office, giant windows framed a golden Dubai skyline, a backdrop to a conversation that would alter everything.
Miss Costa, I need you. Not as a server, but as Lucas's full-time companion. Name your price.
Full time. I'd lose my job, my independence, but this boy, he's everything. I didn't do this for money, but if I accept, I have one condition, a trial period. 1 month, so it doesn't feel like charity.
A trial? You've already done more than anyone else. But done. And I'll make sure your own brother's future is secured as part of this.
My brother, he'll never have to struggle like I did. This is for him as much as Lucas.
Adele slid a check across the desk. Not a payment, but a promise. An advance to bring her brother to Dubai.
Then I accept the trial. But I am still Maria Costa. I'll earn my place, not just inherit it.
Adel's assistant prepared the studio apartment on the mansion grounds, and Maria packed her few belongings with a heart full of fear and hope.
I am not just a waitress anymore, but I am still me, and that's enough.
Days melted into weeks, and the Al Maktoum mansion began to echo with the one sound Adele thought he would never hear again: his son's laughter.
Lucas invented a secret handshake today. 3 taps, a spin, and a finger heart. He's not just signing now, he's creating.
In his playroom, Lucas lined up his stuffed animals and signed to them the story of how a waitress broke his silence with a joke about dessert.
Wait, teach me that one again.
Lucas repeated the sign, a flicker of fingers that meant butterfly, and then tapped her nose because she'd gotten it wrong the first time. Adel watched from the patio, a coffee cup trembling in his hand, not with sorrow, but with a hope so fierce it terrified him.
No, Mr. Al Maktoum. Your thumb needs to point toward your chest, not the ceiling, like this.
I've negotiated billion-dollar deals, but this is the only contract that has ever mattered.
That evening, around a table set for 3, Lucas signed a blessing before dinner, and Adel's hands, though clumsy, kept pace. Later, alone in the garden where his son had laughed for the first time, Adel sketched on the back of a napkin a place where no deaf child would ever feel invisible. Adel called Maria to his office, where a holographic campus rotated above his desk, a place for deaf children unlike any other.
I am naming it the Layla Al Maktoum Foundation, and I want you to lead it.
A whole foundation. I am a waitress who signed a joke.
Before she could speak, Lucas's hands rose, his signs a verdict. Mama would be proud of this. Maria's tears broke. The boy who had been silent for years was now the loudest voice in the room.
You gave my wife the words to love our son. Now give that gift to hundreds more.
Every face I teach will be a piece of Layla's dream. If I say no, I am burying her again.
She kissed Lucas's forehead and turned to Adel, her voice a whisper.
I'll do it. Not because you asked, because your son just told me his mother is watching.
Adel nodded, and the holographic campus glowed against the dawn. No longer a sketch, but a promise. 6 weeks before opening, Maria hammered out a curriculum with her brother in the still unfinished building, their hands writing a language of belonging.
I need the first module to feel like a game. No drills, just stories.
Her brother's hands answered with a blueprint of joy, a curriculum that turned first signs into lullabies. Lucas arrived after school, dragging Adel by the sleeve to the mural wall and pointing straight at the stars. He signed every constellation his mother had promised to catch for him, a galaxy of longing now pinned to the plaster. 3 days before opening, a customs error held the playground equipment, a tangle of red tape that threatened to silence the first day.
I didn't build an empire by letting paper stop a child's laughter. Fix this before sunset.
He really does move mountains.
By evening, the equipment arrived. The silent halls gleamed, freshly painted, classrooms ready, waiting for the hands that would fill them. In the star-decked room, Lucas traced a new sign against the wall. Tomorrow they would fill this place with voices. The morning of the opening, sunrise washed over the new building, its glass reflecting the faces of families who had waited for a miracle. A red ribbon awaited at the entrance, and beside it stood 3 figures who had once been strangers bound by silence. Maria's hands trembled as she cut the ribbon alongside Adel, the snip echoing like the first note of a long, silent symphony. At the podium, she raised her hands, no longer a waitress, but a woman who had carried a language across time. She signed the story of a joke about dessert, of a boy who found his voice, and of a mother whose last gift was a single sign.
This center is not a monument of stone. It is a promise to every silent child. You will be heard.
Beside her, Lucas's hands rose in perfect sync, translating her words for those watching. A duet of healing. A brass plaque gleamed under the sun, in memory of Layla Al Maktoum. A woman's hand touched it softly, her journey complete. The doors swung open, and a stream of children rushed in, their hands already moving, already claiming a home. Adel, Maria, and Lucas stood apart, watching. The waitress who had knelt with a joke had built a castle of belonging. That evening, in the quiet garden, Lucas tugged Maria toward the wooden bench, his eyes holding a secret neither of them knew he was about to release. He let go and raised his hands, fingers shaping the words he had guarded since the night she knelt. You are like my second mama now. Maria's hand flew to her mouth, tears spilling before she could catch them. A sob breaking the garden's hush. She dropped to her knees and pulled him into an embrace, his small hands patting her back as if he were the one offering comfort. Adel appeared at the edge of the patio, his footsteps silent. For once, he didn't want to interrupt, only to witness. Then Lucas pulled away and signed to his father. Come. One word, a command that cracked the last wall. Adel knelt beside them in the grass, his thobe catching the dew, and for the first time in years, his grief felt not like a weight but a shared tenderness.
This is what Layla wanted. Not just a sign, but a family that could finally hear each other.
Lucas gently broke away and placed his hand in Maria's, then reached for Adel's. 3 hands, stacking together in a pact that needed no words. And there, as the garden dimmed, the boy who had been silent for years laughed again, a sound that sealed a new beginning. The next morning, sunlight spilled onto the garden bench where Maria and Lucas sat, their hands already dancing in a new game. Inside, Adel poured coffee and, for the first time in years, hummed a broken tune under his breath, a melody his wife used to love. He touched the frame, fingers brushing the glass where Layla's eyes seemed to watch him with a peace he had never felt before. Lucas burst through the patio doors, signing so fast his fingers blurred, recounting every face he had seen at the center that morning.
He speaks now like a river after rain. No one will ever tell him he's silent again.
That afternoon, Maria returned to the restaurant one last time, leaving only her burgundy apron and a resignation letter on the manager's desk. The manager read it and muttered something about losing his best waitress to a billionaire's broken silence, a trade he would never understand. Back in the garden, as the sun dipped low, Lucas planted a small desert flower beside the bench, a marker of the night he'd found his voice. Maria knelt beside him, and together they patted the soil, signing a promise to the earth that no silence would ever be permanent. And in the language that had rebuilt a family, hope was the first word and the last. Another morning broke over the Layla Al Maktoum Foundation, its doors already open, its silent halls already filled with the electricity of small, moving hands. Lucas stood at the front of a brightly lit classroom, his hands shaping the story of a gold leaf dessert and the waitress who had broken his silence.
This locket still holds Layla's smile, but now it also holds a promise kept, not by chance, but by a boy who refused to stay silent forever.
Adel passed the brass plaque every morning now, pausing just long enough to tell Layla the name of a new child he had seen signing that day. In the art room, a new mural grew, hands of every size, painted in every color, all reaching for the stars Lucas had once kept to himself. Adel found Maria on the patio, watching Lucas through the glass. He didn't speak, just handed her a coffee and stood beside her, belonging in the silence. Lucas glanced back and caught their eyes. Without a sound, he signed the only word that ever mattered.
Two mothers watch over him now, one from the earth, one from the memory of a joke. Love doesn't need sound to echo.
And so their three hands stayed stacked, a father, a son, and the woman who had carried a sign across the years to bring them home. In the end, hope was not a word, it was a girl who knelt, a boy who signed back, and a love that outlasted silence.